All right, this video is about laws of exponents. These are rules that you learned in Algebra 2. I just want to remind you of them as we move into our next unit. Okay? First, when we are multiplying and adding, okay, the rule is if you're multiplying and they're side by side like this, then you will need to add the exponents. So you'll add 3 and 5. Since the bases are the same, it'll be x to the 8th power. So you simply add them. However, if they are, one is raised to another power, okay, notice the difference. This is raised to 3, x squared is raised to 3. If it's raised to a power, we multiply. We multiply the powers. All right, so this really becomes x to the 6th. Okay, why is that? Well, because you could do x squared 3 times. And then you add them up, 2, 4, 6, and you would get x to the 6th. It's the same idea, but if you learn the rule that if a power raised to a power, you multiply the powers, it saves you that step. Notice on example 1, it was just side by side and we just added them. On example 3, we got lots of things going on, so we take it in pieces. Here we have x to the 3rd raised to x to the 4th power, and we said we multiply those, so we get x to the 12th. Here we have a fractional power. All right, think of that 6 as 6 over 1, and remember your rules with fractions. When you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. So 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. Well, what is that? That is 4. So that really is just x to the 4th. Now we've simplified it down, and we add 12 plus 4 is 16. So x to the 16th power is what this all ended up being. When you divide exponents, you basically subtract, okay? And you're going to leave negative exponents, or you're going to find you get negative exponents. I'm going to show you what to do with that, all right? So in this case, I subtract the exponent. 3 minus 2 gives me x to the 1st. Or you could just say x, really. It's the same. But what about on example 5? If I subtract, I get 2 minus 5, which gives me x to the negative 3, right? Well, a negative exponent simply means you put it in the opposite place. Okay, so that's like x to the negative 3 over 1. To get rid of that negative, I move it down. So it becomes 1 over x to the 3rd. Okay, so on your assignment today, it's going to say leave your exponents as positive. So if you do your subtraction and you end up with a negative, you just need to put it in the denominator or vice versa. Look at number 6. X squared squared. So it's a power to a power, so I multiply the power, so I get x to the 4th over x to the 3rd. I subtract them, and I get x to the 1st, which is just x. Okay? So let me give you another little sidebar example on the negative exponents. Let's say, for instance, this is x to the negative 3 power. In order to get rid of that negative 3, I would move it up and make it x to the 3 power. Okay? This is just an extra. Don't be confused here. All right, that's how you get rid of the negative powers. You just move them. Either you can move them down, or in this case, you can move them up. Okay, what about fractional powers? When you see a fractional power, you need to know that that means you're dealing with radicals. You're dealing with square roots. Okay, square roots could be a cube root, which is the 1/3 power. This is the 1/2 power. Fourth root would be the 1/4 power, so on and so forth. So look at number 7. It's to the square root power, right? So you would write that as x to the 1/2 power, okay? So on number 8, we have two things going on. We have x squared, and it's being raised to the 1/3 power, right? Now we multiply powers if they're raised to one another. So 2 raised to the 1/3 power gives me x to the 2/3 power, and that would be my answer. Look at number 9. We got weird stuff going on here. We have x to the 5th, right? So split that up as 5 times 1/2, okay? So what I have is x to the 5th times the 1/2 power. What is the 1/2 power? That means it's a square root, so I put it under the square root. Now don't stop there because you can simplify this. Remember, x to the 5th means x times x times x times x times, times x. One more time. All of that is under here. So for every 2 x's, you can take 1 out, right? So here's 2 and here's 2. So I can take out 2 x's and leave 1 inside. Simplify that, I get x squared times the square root of x. fractional powers, continued. Okay, so look, 1/3 means it's the cube root of 27. So you're looking for a number times itself. What times itself 3 times equals 27. Start with small numbers. I guarantee it'll be easier. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, so it's not 2. What about 3? 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So my cube root is a 3, indeed. So this one simplifies all the way to a number. On number 11, 12 to the 2/3 power. Remember that 2/3 power means 2, it's being squared, and it's being raised to the 1/3 power. So you can write it as 12 squared, and you're looking for the cube root of that. Well, this is just 12 times 12, right? To the cube root. You can't take anything out unless you have it 3 times due to being a cube root. So this step really doesn't help us simplify it, and this would be where you leave your answer. Okay? Or you could go one step further and tell me that it's 144, cube root of 144, because 12 squared is 144. All right? Okay, so we've reviewed a lot of rules about powers and radicals and stuff. I want you to try this one on your own. If you want to pause the video, I want you to try it. And then I'm going to work it out so you can check your work here in a minute. But pause the video, try it, and then start the video up. Okay, so I've assumed you've paused it and you've tried this out. So we want to leave only positive exponents. So let's see what we can do. All right, so I'm going to leave the 3 and the 5 alone because I can't reduce that. Now I have x to the negative power. In order to make it positive, I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to leave that x to the 3rd where it was. I'm going to move the x squared down here because that makes it positive. Y to the 3rd, looking at my y's here, I have 3 and a 2. They're both positive, so I can just subtract them, and I get a 1. So I get y to the 1st power. Here I subtract them, 4 and 5. If I subtract 4 minus 5, I get negative 1, so I get z to the negative 1 power. Now let's do some simplification. 3 and 5 have not changed. Y has not changed. I can combine x cubed times x squared. Remember, I add the powers if they're side by side. So this is x to the 5th. But this negative 1 power, how do I get rid of that? I move it down. So that just becomes z, and I can put the 1, but I don't have to. But this is my answer. I hope you got it right. We'll see you in class.